Nice to have you here at my channel. You have seen me painting bikes and other stuff hundreds of times in lots of my videos. And believe it or not, I like to watch YouTube as well. I like to see people building crazy stuff. I like the maker community. But that's a custom painting channel, so I searched for custom painting videos. And I found another interesting one. I found a woman, she painted her bike at home, DIY. And I think that's very interesting for you guys if you want to do a DIY paint job at home as well. And her name is Juliet Elliott. She comes from the UK. She's a professional cyclist. So let's open a good lemonade and let's check how she painted her bike.
Morning! I've got something really fun to do today. I'm going to paint my old track frame, this that I used to race on at Red Hook Crit. I've got sent some really cool colours by Spray Bike. So I'll talk you through the whole process. I'm going to prep my frame and then I'm going to get some of these lovely colours on. Looks
like she's sponsored by Spray Bike. So yeah, that's the color she used. I can't say anything about this color because I don't use it. And let's check what she did with the color.
So first things first, I've got to prep the frame. Now there are a couple of layers of paint on this because it was actually a green Cannondale that Charge painted black so that I could race in it because I was sponsored by Charge at the time.
Yeah, that's a little bit special because she had 2 paint jobs on the bike. If you want to go professional, you have to remove the first one before you start repainting again. But let's see how she removed the color.
I'm going to start off with some really coarse sandpaper. That'll get the bulk of the paint off. This is grade 40.
What? Grade 40? 40! Juliet, have you really used 40 grit sandpaper? You can use 40 grit sandpaper if you want to sand down an elephant's toenail. Do elephants have toenails? I'm not really sure. Let's check this. Elephant's toenail. Yeah, check this. They have toenails. Looks really nice. But that's not the case. The 40 grit is much too rough if you want to sand down such an aluminum frame, because it's a very soft metal and you can really harm the frame and you can do deep scratches into the metal. So that's not what you should use.
And then you go up to start using finer sandpaper the closer you get to the finish, because you want it to be really silky smooth so that the paint goes on evenly. So I'm going to start doing
that hurts me.
Actually,
that really hurts me.
I've done a bit of it already. I will continue doing this. Takes ages. I've decided to move outside because obviously it's stupid.
Yeah, she changed to the outside, to the garden, and I painted my first bike also in the living room. I not only sanded the bike, I also painted the bike in my living room. That was a complete mess. The color was all over the place. And she's right. Do the sanding outside or in the shed or wherever. Or if you have a dust collection, use a dust collection. Or do it in your garden. It's not very good, or it's not a good decision to paint a bike inside the living room or inside the house. You produce a lot of dust. And yeah, also such a little frame can ruin your complete furniture.
Well, we started off with the 60 grade sandpaper, and that's really good for just getting all the big bits of paint off, and any place where it's chipped, you know, right down to the metal, you want to go over that with the 60 grade paper. Then basically you start moving on to a finer sandpaper. Otherwise,
can you see these scratches? They are much too deep, and if you apply color over these scratches and the color dries, you can see these scratches through the new paint job. If the color sets, these scratches will be visible, and I recommend to start with maximum 80 grit. Better is 400 or 320 or something like that. And the last grit you should use, the finest grit, should be an 800 grit. And I recommend to remove the complete color. You can see the original green paint job. Also the second paint job, there are layers of primer. You can see them, they are gray. And a black paint job on top. And I recommend to remove the complete color.
I'm going to end up with scratches all over the frame. So I've moved up to a 320. Basically, the higher the number of the sandpaper, the finer the grade is. So you want to go higher, 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 till eventually you finish off by using a circular motion with a really fine grade paper, and that's going to make your frame really, really smooth, so then it'll be ready for painting.
Insert your own innuendo.
If you don't rub the complete frame like this, I recommend to do a media blast. It costs some money, but you get a perfect stripped frame. So maybe you have a media blasting company nearby, and that saves you a lot of time. Maybe you have to invest, I don't know, 40 bucks or something like this for the complete media blast, but that saves time. You have a perfect finish. If you want to invest hours or maybe days, do the sandpaper way. I recommend to do a media blast.
So one other thing you've got to do, of course, is remove your dropouts before you do any painting, because you don't want to be painting over those. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. I have now prepped the frame completely with...
Okay. As you can see, there's a lot of color on the frame, and I think she gave up because it was a lot of work and she didn't expect the amount of work she had to do to remove the complete color. And there's a high risk that the old layers of color, especially the non-factory paint job, the black one, can bubble if you apply primer over these layers of color. So if you want to go professional and if you want to have no risk of any bubbling color, it's like a fart in a bathtub when the color starts to react, the chemical reaction. And yeah, if you don't remove the complete color, you can ruin the paint job in the first step, and that's a nightmare. You have to start from scratch. So I recommend to invest more time to do the media blast and to remove the complete color. Yeah, don't be lazy and don't give up. It takes some more days, but you will be happy if you do that.
With a bit of help from Dave. It's really time-consuming process, and I've sanded it all the way down, cleaned it off, and obviously I'm holding it with a glove so I don't get greasy fingerprints on it, because that will stop the paint from adhering properly. And I've masked...
Yes, that's right. When you've done sanding, you have to degrease the frame because your fingers are greasy. There's a little film of grease on the fingers, and if you transfer the grease onto the frame, the color won't stick well. So use a degreaser and wear gloves when you do the paint job.
Off the bottom bracket, headset. I'm trying not to touch it here. So now it's time to
Yes, don't touch it with your bare fingers. That's right.
paint. We've rigged up a pretty comedy painting booth. Come and have a look.
I'm a little bit afraid what the comedy painting booth is. I'm really afraid what comes next. And I really don't want to roast Juliet. She's a nice girl. She has a lot of, how can I say? She has a lot of energy and positivity in this project, and that's what I like. But yeah, in my opinion, I have to criticize some points. So Juliet, I don't want to roast you. The only thing I really like to roast are some winners. And if I have to criticize your paint job, don't be sad. And yeah, I like you. I like your engagement in doing the paint job. And let's see what comes next.
It's snowing, and it's recommended that you don't paint when it's wet or cold. But I really want to do it now. Is that stupid?
That's not complete right. I recommend to paint when it's raining, not outside of course, but the rain brings down all the dust in the air, and if you have not so much dust in the air, it's a good day to paint, maybe inside, because if you have a high humidity and not so much dust in the air, you get a better finish with not so much dust on your tubes. And yeah, it shouldn't be too cold. I recommend 20 degrees Celsius. I don't know what's in Fahrenheit, so you have to use Google. 20 degrees Celsius if you use such a spray can. That is a good temperature to paint. If you paint at, I don't know when it's snowing, maybe it's 2 or 5 degree in the UK, you have to heat your spray can to 20 degree or 25 degree. So the result will be fine. If it's too cold, the color will spit over the frame and you have not so good finish on your frame. So let's check her paint booth.
Stupid, isn't it?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to do it now.
It was raining when I painted mine.
Okay, cool. Welcome to the spray booth. It's very high tech. So, I've got my base coat. Can you hear what?
Two things I have to say. The first thing, and that's very important, is the mask Juliet's wearing. And that's really a safety risk, so I have to criticize that. That's only a dust mask. Never use such a mask for spraying, because a professional spray mask has two filters. Let's check this. The first filter is a dust collection filter. It's a P1 filter. That's to collect the dust, and the air goes through the filter and it filters the dust. And the second one is an activated charcoal filter, and that's filtering all the chemicals in the air and in the paint. So I recommend to buy such a mask. It costs some bucks, maybe 50 or 60 bucks, but that saves your life. And the mask Juliet Elliott's wearing, is not the mask you should wear if you use spray cans or any other professional spray or color. So please wear a proper mask and not this one. I got roasted hundreds of times because I wear this mask and not a full air feed mask. That one is, how can I say? I would say a poor mask. It's only for dust collection, for sanding, but not for spraying color. So please, please, please buy a proper mask. Also, Juliet, if you want to do a paint job next time, buy yourself a proper mask and invest the money. You invest in your health, and that is what counts. Yeah, and the second one is the committee spray booth. Yeah, it's outside, that's not so bad. The fumes can leave the booth, but she picked or she sticked on some newspapers, but only on the walls and not on the ceiling. And most of the dust comes from the ceiling. It rains down on your fresh paint. If you spray, there are some aerosols in the spray can. You evaporate the aerosols and they cause all the dust falling down on your frame. And if you want to build a spray booth, don't forget the mask, also the ceiling. That's much more important than masking the walls or the bottom. The ceiling is the most important thing in a spray booth, and it should be as clean as possible.
Saying?
No idea.
I've got my base coat, and I'm going to practice on this piece of metal here before I go straight onto my fork, because I've not used this paint before. I've never spray painted a bike. I heard you got to go in really close, so there's a cat coming out the cat flap. Don't come over here. So I'm going to try it on this piece of metal, right?
One straight movement.
That's not so bad idea if you try on a piece, whatever, on a scrap piece or what you can find. So you get practice in spraying with a spray can. You have to move it very smooth, how can I say, do a dance, do a spray can dance like this. You have seen me spraying with these spray cans, and I do such a spray can dance because if you stop and the spray can spits the color, you have spots and you have paint runs. That's not what you want. So do some practice on scrap parts. That was a good idea from Juliet.
Not backwards and forwards.
Really?
Yes. Like
Okay.
That's like the most I've never painted before. Yeah, that's it.
I have never painted before. Come on. Right, I'm going to do my fork. Da, da, da. Is she going to mess it up? Probably. Oh.
Oh, she's so nervous. I think it's her first time. It's so cute. Do it! Go ahead! Faster!
How'd you do in there?
That's a little bit too close what she's doing. And yeah, you need some space between the fork and the spray can. Maybe it's 30 centimeter, that's good if you apply. I'm not really sure if it's a color or a base coat, but it looks more than a color. So if you apply color, maybe 20 to 30 centimeter between the fork or the frame and the spray can. Not so close, because you have a high risk if you spray too close of paint runs and to apply too much color in one spot. So that's a good space between the fork and the spray can, and then do the spray can dance.
See, the good thing about this paint is you can go really slowly and close like that and it dries. Like with normal rubbish paint, it would run like mad doing this.
And One good advice from my side, find a place where you can stick on the wet fork. You can't touch the wet fork, so you have to find a place, kind of holder for the fork where you can stick it on when it's wet, because you like to paint the frame as well and you can't hold the fork until the color cures. That can take an hour or maybe two, and I don't think you like to hold the fork for an hour, okay?
See, the good thing about this paint is you can go really slowly and close like that and it dries. Like with normal rubbish paint, it would run like mad doing that.
That's too slow. That's much too slow.
This paint is
You have to go
designed
faster,
be used
faster, faster, faster. Yeah, faster. Much faster.
Okay, I'm going to leave it to dry now. It dries super duper quickly, so then I can go over and, well, actually, should I? Yeah, I need to give it another coat, right?
Yeah, I'd give it a light one.
Right, time to do the frame. It's quite awkward. Like I said before, we don't have a proper stand, so I'm going to have to hold it.
You see how little room.
Yeah, it's quite tight in here and I don't have a stand, so I'm going to have to hold it and spray it. I'm just going to do my best. I mean, this is just a fun project. It's not like I'm trying to make...
Okay, that's a really bad place to paint a bike frame. First, an important thing, you need a paint stand. Put your frame on a paint stand and make sure you can go around the frame. You need the space, maybe 1 meter or 150 meter on every side around the frame. Don't hold the frame and don't try to turn the frame. It's much easier to walk around the frame and put it on a paint stand. That's what I recommend.
I have a stand, so I'm going to have to hold it and spray it. I'm just going to do my best. I mean, this is just a fun project. It's not like I'm trying to make a show bike or sell it or something.
That's really cool. And yeah, if you say that's only a fun project, you are so right. Don't try to paint a show bike the first time. You will be disappointed. And that's a good mood if you say that's only a fun project. And I hope you had fun, Juliet. I have fun watching you painting. That's really cool. So yeah, if you improve some of your situations, your paint booths and the preparation of the frame, that can be a good paint job.
So if it looks nice, cool. If I mess it up, so what? So I'm just going to start spraying. Paint.
And like little quick spray upside down for a couple of seconds on the wall. Clear the novel. There you go.
Right. Da, da, da.
Don't.
That's not a good idea. That's absolutely not a good idea. No, 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 no. Never touch the frame when you paint it.
Go too quick.
No, you're not.
No?
That's spot on.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess she wishes a paint stand, but she hadn't one. And yeah, you can't touch the frame when painting. That's a stupid idea. It's so stupid. You have to paint the frame in one step. And even if it's a primer or a color, you need to paint it in one step. You can't touch it and wait until one spot is cured to touch it and to paint another spot. That's a horrible idea. So I made a broomstick paint stand in one of my videos. It's quick and simple. Check the broomstick paint stand in the video if you don't want to go professional. It costs nothing, even a broom and an old palette, and that saves you a lot of trouble if you want to do a DIY paint job.
It's really hard holding the bloody thing.
Yeah, try it with a size 59 frame.
Yeah, and now she gets into trouble. If she touches the paper with the head tube, you get a structure in the color. The paper will stick onto the fresh color. And yeah, that's the main problem of this little paint booth. It's much too little. It's more than a telephone cell. Is it called telephone cell? I'm not really sure. And yes, that's not so good, but the fate of the spray can is not so bad. There are no paint runs, and for first try, I'm really impressed. Can you see that? She touches the fresh painted frame. That's not good. The gloves can stick on the fresh painted frame because they are rubber, and rubber reacts also with the fresh color. And yeah, I do not recommend this, so make sure you have a paint stand. That's a minimum.
How's it going in there?
Oh, great. It's really fun. And it's looking good. There's a funny bit here that I'm going to have to sand and redo. I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, Juliet, that's a funny spot. That's not a funny spot. That's a reaction. And the reaction comes from the paint under your color or your primer. And that's what I say. If you don't remove the complete color, you can have such spots, these chemical reactions. And she tries to sand it again. And if you want to save these steps, if you want to minimize these problems, remove the complete color. I can say it not often enough.
In there, but it's going good. The paint's so easy to use. So I've now base coated the whole frame. Well, this isn't actually a base coat, it's just the base colour that I chose. And I did a couple of coats.
Two things I like to say. At first, if that's an aluminum frame, you need a proper primer, you need an edge primer, because the color won't stick on the frame. It looks good, but the adhesion between the color and the bare aluminum is not very good. There's the original paint job, that's not so bad. It sticks on the original paint. As seen, there was not so much trouble with any reaction. But I recommend, if you paint an aluminum frame, use a proper primer. You need the primer, and yeah, maybe in a half year or maybe in some months the color will peel off. It doesn't stick on the frame, even if it looks well. And yeah, and when you try to mask the frame, there's a high risk that you rip off the beige color on the frame with the masking tape, because there's no adhesion between the aluminum and the frame. So I recommend to use a primer. The second thing I recommend is to sand the frame again. I don't know if she did it, but we will see in the next video. She did another video with the colors, so I'm very excited about this. And yeah, let's check the second video.
I think I did an alright job. It's actually really easy to use paint, but I did make a bit of an error here where, because I don't have a stand and I'm doing it in a tiny shed, you have to swap the bike around in your hands and spray it whilst you're holding it, and I held a wet bit. So I've tried to sand down this fingerprint, and I've also gone over the...
That's what I said. She made fingerprints with her fingers and with the rubber gloves into the fresh paint. So yeah, that's the trouble you can avoid if you have a paint stand.
Whole frame with a really fine grade sandpaper to make it as smooth as possible. Next job is to use this car masking tape to mask off some of the areas that I want to remain this colour, and then I will paint the other colours using the purples and pinks and the nice colours that I've got. So it's kind of hard to work out the design in your head because you're kind of doing it in reverse. So what you mask off remains this colour, and to me it's sort of hard to get my head around.
My advice: do a sketch. Do a simple sketch on a piece of paper so you know what you do. And if you have not enough imagination, it's not a I don't want to criticize Juliet about that, but I do every time a sketch. I have to show it my clients, of course, if I do client work, but if I paint the frame for myself, I do also a sketch, so I can make a list what to do first, what to do second, what to do third. And yeah, that's a good idea. So you can clear your head and you can concentrate on the paint job itself and not so much on the design. Okay?
What to do? Right. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, she didn't know what to do. So a piece of paper is a good idea. You can scribble around with some pens. You can find some ideas, some cool designs, and then start painting on the frame. And yeah, if you are a pro, you can also paint direct on the frame. But for the first time, it's a really hard job. I understand her struggles with finding a cool design.
I do know what to do. It's just kind of scary because I say, oh, I'm not bothered, but obviously I kind of do want it to look nice.
Dun, dun, dun.
And also, I've got this idea, basically. The idea is that I want to have like these cream stripes, and in between the stripes I want to have blocks of colour. But obviously the tube is cylindrical and the tape is, I don't know, I just don't know how it'll work, but I'll try. Yeah.
The problem is the masking tape is too wide. Yeah, and I'll show you a masking tape which works well. I will be back in 2 seconds and I'll show you the masking tape you should use if you want to do sections on the frame. Yeah, let's check this one. This is fine line tape. You can find it in the hardware store. I will link you some under the video if you want to buy it. I will link you also some good stuff if you want to do DIY paint jobs. And the masking tape Juliet used is much too wide, so she can't do the shape she likes. Yes, it's very stiff. The masking tape is stiff and you can't form it around the tube in the shape she likes. You can see it on the C-tube. You need a soft form, and this fine line tape is soft. You can bend it around edges. Let's show it on the table. I can do a curve with this masking tape if I like. Can you see it? And that's what Juliet needs. She needs such a curve for the C-tube, and if you have stiff tape you can't do these curves. So buy yourself the fine line tape and that's the problem solver.
Problem is, Daddy, my design is not going to work because there's no way, like, basically if I want to do a stripe from here to here in cream, well, you can't, because if you try and wrap the tape around, like, you can't make it meet up there. Do you see what I mean? Like, you just can't. So, back to the drawing board. Morning. Probably a bit silly doing a video this week. I've lost my voice. But, seeing as I can't train or anything, I really want to paint my frame.
I know why she lost her voice, and I can tell you why. She's wearing the wrong mask when spraying, because all the chemicals and the aerosols in these spray cans can ruin your vocal cords. They can hurt your vocal cords and your throat. And if you inhale all these aerosols, your voice can break. You can hear that my voice is not best. And that's the reason, Juliet. And yeah, you should think of a better spray mask.
Guys, what I'm doing. So, this is what I painted last week, the base coat using Spray Bike's paint. Today I'm going to do the fun bit, the colour. So I've decided finally that I'm going to cut out some symbols, I'm going to stick them all over the frame, and then I'm going to do a 3-colour fade. And when I peel off the symbols, the stickers, it's going to leave the cream colour showing through. I've also found out about some really cool paint pens that I could use. I don't have those yet. If they arrive in time, I might try them out. So the symbols I've decided to do are dinosaurs. Why? Well, because my daughter loves them. So the plan is I'm just going to draw some out, something like these.
That's good. That's a sketchbook. Yeah, I love these dinosaurs. And that's what I say, use a sketchbook. Have fun sketching. Juliet, yeah, I love it.
I drew for her when we were messing about colouring in, and I'm gonna cut them out using a scalpel on sticky back plastic. I don't know if that's going to work. It might pull off the base coat, so I think I'll try it on an inconspicuous bit, or maybe I'll try it on the fork.
That's what I said before. If you don't have a proper base coat, and if you stick masking tape or any other tape on, and if you remove it, you can rip off the color if there's no proper adhesion. So my recommendation, use a proper primer and you won't have these problems.
I don't know if the fade will work either, because I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's fun to try. So I'm going to get going. This one?
So I saw.
This one?
Listen to our voices.
This one? Dave got
A good collection of dinosaurs, and yeah, I think they belong to her daughter, but that's a good inspiration finding some toys or playing with toys, if you need cool graphics. And I'm really excited about the dinosaurs on the fork.
Like a dinosaur. Dave.
His head's quite big.
Head's too big, yeah. Right, so I've got my dinosaur design. Dave is really unimpressed with it, thinks the proportions are all wrong. I don't really care, so I'm going to cut it out and I'm going to transfer it. Well, I'm just...
Don't be so lazy. Try it again if you want to, if you're not satisfied with your dinosaur. That's a bike paint and you will have it a long time, so yeah, it's not a problem. Buy yourself some papers or find some papers and do it again and again and again and again and again. We are not on a run, so yeah, invest some time in a good design and then paint it on the frame.
I'm just going to cut around it on this sticky back plastic. It's a super high-tech way of doing it. Right, I still can't talk, as you can see, but I have finished cutting out all these decals. It was a total nightmare, but it's done. I'm going to try and go and do my fade. Do you think it'll end up looking like that? I doubt it, but we've all got to start somewhere.
What Juliet said was, look, she's cut out all her dinosaurs and stuck them on the fork, and she's going to attempt a fade. She hasn't done a fade before, so it's interesting to see how it's going to go. What colours are you going to do? Purple and green?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go and try it.
You will run into trouble. Yes, you will run into trouble. I know you will run into trouble. There's one big thing, and the masking tape is not the right masking tape, and you didn't do a proper preparation. And yeah, I like to tell you what went wrong. What went wrong? Okay, let's check this. You have your frame. That's your frame, your tube. The tube, and you spray color on the tube, and the color won't be even. If it looks like this under the microscope, of course, not in real life, but there are a lot of hills and valleys like this, okay? And when you put some of this masking tape on top, like this, it won't stick well. It sticks only in these little spots. And there's a lot of air underneath the masking tape. And when you start spraying, you will blow the air. I have to paint the spray can like this. Spray can. And when you blow the air, under this masking tape, it will lift off. It will lift off in this direction, and the color will leak under the masking tape, and it will fade under the masking tape, and that's what happened to the fork.
Here goes. Oh God.
Oh, she's so nervous, it's so cute. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
Look, the tail's coming off.
Yes, that's what I said, the tail is coming off. You can see it in this spot.
You might end up with a few imperfections, but I mean...
To say the least, it's going to be all imperfections.
No, it's not all imperfections.
Such a nice card.
It's not all imperfections.
Next colour.
Yeah, that's what I told you. The masking tape won't stick well, and you will blow off the masking tape. And yeah, if you want to avoid that, do a good preparation, sanding down to maybe 800 grit, and use a proper masking tape which sticks well.
Such a nice card.
Next colour.
I'm going straight on.
I'm going straight on with it wet. I don't know if you're meant to do it like this or not. I just want to do it, so I'm going to get on with it. Ah! Oh no, I'm really nervous.
She's so nervous.
Should I not film this bit?
Go ahead, go ahead. If you want to do a fade, do the spray can dance as I told you before. Do this, not this. If you need a fade, you need a soft fade on the top of the frame or on the tube, and you can do a fade like this. If that's my tube, okay, that's the bicycle tube or the fork or whatever, and if I like to do a fade, I start like this. Spraying near the tube and then lift the can and the color will fade out in this direction. That's the way you should do it, and that's the dance you should do if you want to do a fade on the bicycle tube, okay?
Time to take them off and see what it looks like. I've just hair dried these because it makes it easier to remove them, so here goes.
Yeah, you can see some fade on the tail. It lifted, and the color blue underneath is masking tape. But for first try, not so bad. There are no leaks underneath the masking tape. The color did not leak underneath the masking tape. And for first try, that's very good.
Ooh. Hee.
Happy?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's done. I don't know if I like it, actually. I kind of wish the base coat was pink. I don't know if I like it, but anyway, we'll carry on.
I like it.
Yeah.
Have a look closely.
And she's not really right. It's not done. It's only the base color. These spray cans are only base colors. And if you want to go professional, you need also a varnish or a clear coat, flat or gloss, like you want. And yeah, if I would do the paint job, I would apply a proper clear coat, maybe 2K. I like the 2K because it's much more durable. And yeah, I would seal this paint job with a proper clear coat.
Does it matter if I get the shed purple?
Have you seen this? Where are your rubber gloves, Juliet? Where are your rubber gloves? You told us there's grease on your fingers and you touched the frame with the bare fingers. That's not what you should do. You know it, and I don't want to criticize too much. I know I criticize here and I criticize there, but when you do a paint job, never touch your frame with bare fingers, because the color will lift off. Not the next day, but maybe in a week, maybe in a month. And if you want to be happy with your paint job, wear rubber gloves and do what you said before, and the quality will be much better, okay? So I don't want to criticize too much. I don't want to roast you, Juliet. But yeah, that's what I can see.
No, not at all.
Okay. Right, so I don't know if I like the dinosaurs. So, seeing as it's a hassle and I don't know if I like the dinosaurs, I'm just going to do a fade. Well, I'm going to try and do a fade. I've got a pro tip for you. Take your watch off first.
Wear gloves. Now she got it. And she painted her watch as well. Okay. Sell it as a designer watch. That's my recommendation.
Oh, and wear gloves. So next, because I'm doing a 3-colour fade, I'm going to put the uniform on next. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I'm going to do it like that.
Perfect conditions to paint in, right? Cold,
No.
windy and slightly wet. Not been too lucky. Yeah.
So, I still can't talk, but yes, I kind of am. There's the odd bit where I went a bit too high and too thick, but I think it's not bad for a first attempt. I'm just trying to remain patient, because the more you do it, the more you speed up.
Yeah, you need some concentration when you paint. And If you do something wrong, leave it, sand it down. Don't try to fix it in much more steps. That's not a good idea. You have only one chance when painting. That's what's really hard when painting frames or when painting in general. You can't fix it on the spot. You have to wait. You have to sand it down, take some time, maybe the other day, and then try to repaint it. Never try to fix it with the spray can if you do something wrong. It will end in paint runs, it will end in crazy spots or whatever. So you need a good concentration on the thing you like to paint. And then do it in the spray can dance and you get a nice result, okay?
And then you're just like, Wah! Oh my god, seriously bright.
Yeah, it's going to be quite pink. It's like pastel. Fluoro!
Right, so I'm not really happy with this fade. It's really, really windy. Also, I've never done one before, so I'm just going to go back over with the green and try and tidy it up. I've put cling film around all the pink areas that I want to stay pink.
Look at her nose. Can you see the nose and can you see her eyes? I know that's no mascara. Can you see these purple fades under her eyes and in the corner of the nose? And that's color. And that's what I tell you. That's not the right mask. You will inhale all the color and all these toxic fumes. Check her nose and check the spots under the eyes. So that's a real health problem. Buy yourself a proper mask. That's not a good idea. That was a bad idea. And I have to criticize that. Okay?
So I'm just going to try it. I mean, it might make it worse, but change of plan. I actually quite like having a line. I got one accidentally, and I've decided to incorporate that into my design. So I've taped it off in a line. I'm just going to finish it off. You never stop asking for food.
Sorry.
Right, I think I've finished the frame. The fork, as I said, I don't know if I like it. I was hoping I could get hold of some paint pens and I might outline the dinosaurs, but I live in the countryside, it's quite hard to get hold of stuff like that. So I haven't quite decided. I am going to lacquer this once it's dried, so I'll see what it looks like then and decide what to do. Right, final reveal. I hope I like it, because I didn't like the fork. God, my voice. Do you like it?
It doesn't go actually.
Yeah. And here it is. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. I'm not necessarily saying I would do it exactly the same again. I did.
I like the color. I like the purple and I like the turquoise. It's a good combination. That's my preferred combination. What I don't like is the finish. It's too rough, and for first try it's good, yeah, but you can't win in the first try. It's really hard to paint a bike, professional, high quality. And check the spot on the seat tube, that's dust. And that comes from the, what's the name of the paint booth? I don't know the name of the paint booth. I have to check it again. Great, not crazy paint booth. Comedy paint booth. That's the reason. Yeah, that's what happens when you paint in the comedy paint booth. But all in all, not so bad for a first try. No major paint runs. That's really good. I'm impressed. I had a lot of fun watching this. Thanks, Juliet, for these 2 videos. And I'll link the original videos also in my video description if you want to watch Juliet's channel or Juliet's videos as well. I hope you had fun. I had fun. And what I will do is I will roast my wiener until it's hot. And then I will do another painting video as well. And I will put it on my channel. Thanks for watching and see you in one of my next painting videos. Goodbye.